Hello, welcome. Today's class is a very gentle yoga class that will help alleviate any low back discomfort. It goes without saying that I'm not a medical professional, so if you do suffer from low back pain that is acute and sharp, please seek medical help. Having said that, today's class will be targeting that discomfort in the low back that we sometimes get when we overdo something or we sleep wrongly. And all you need is a strap or a belt or a long scarf or even a towel and a little bolster perhaps. You might not even need it today, but a bolster or a firm pillow. Blanket might help just for comfort. So today's class will start on our backs. You can come into Savasana if that's comfortable for you. However, if this bugs your low back at this point, keep your knees bent and let those knees collapse towards one another. We're just going to lie down here for a moment to prepare our minds and our bodies for our yoga class. Just a few moments to settle in. Alright, so allow the body to relax. Breathe deep. Slow down the breath. We breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. You want to let the belly rise and the chest rise with the inhale. And with your exhale, let the chest drop and the belly drop. Feel your shoulders start to relax into the mat. Soften the belly, the hips, the legs. Let the limbs grow heavy. As the body begins to relax, just give yourself this next moment, next few minutes to really be centered, be in the moment. Take one more deep breath. Inhale in through the nose and let that exhale escape through the mouth this time. Gently open your eyes. If you have your legs straight, draw them in so that the feet are a little closer towards the hips. If you have your knees towards one another, just let those knees draw apart. And walk your feet out just slightly wider than the hips. And very gently, I'd like you to start dropping both knees over to one side, back to center, and over to the other side. And this is a very slow and mindful movement. I'd like you to start to feel those areas that are tight. You know, we all know where we are, usually feeling that low back pain. And I just like you to feel that and target that area. So if you feel this little tug, very gently lean into it. So being very mindful here. If you can add breathing pattern to this, you'll inhale back to center and exhale over to the other side. This serves as a little bit of a warm-up for that low back as well. A little bit of a check-in. So let's come back to the center and gather your knees into the chest for a bit of a hug here as well. So your tailbone will lift off the mat. You're going to hug your knees in as best as you can. Hold on to whatever's available to you, the backs of your thighs, your knees, or your shins. And we're just going to start to rock side to side. And take this into a circular movement. Switch directions. It should feel good. And then back to the center. Lower the left foot down onto the mat and hold on to that right knee. You can even release it or hold on to the back of the thighs. But what we're looking for is a movement in that right hip joint. So small circles, very small, to start off with. And as you start to warm up, let those circles become bigger, wider. Okay. We're going to warm up that hip joint. Other side, switch directions. And then back to the center, lower that right foot down into the mat. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So gather that left knee in and a little bit of movement. Kind of like sweeping away the cobwebs, those any kind of stickiness in that joint. Just kind of warming up, loosening. Switch directions. Good. And then back to the middle, lower both feet down onto the mat, just for a moment. Okay, so on your back here, I'd like you to think of kind of lifting the tailbone slightly off the mat. So the tailbone right at the very base of your spine, I'd like you to lift it up slightly. So I'm going to exaggerate the movement, but you're just going to do a very slight movement here. So you lift up as though you're squeezing the glutes together. Okay, so we're warming up those legs and squeezing the glutes and then lower. So it doesn't have to be a very big movement, just a slight lift, almost as though you're pressing the upper body, the back down onto the mat, but lifting the hips slightly off the mat and then lower. Try squeezing a little bit more tightness and feel those legs start to really energize and strengthen here. Okay, and lower. Squeeze, engage and lower. 2 more. Exhale. Inhale. 1 more. That's great. And then release, soften. Just allow the entire body to relax just for a moment. And then let those knees drop side to side, just very gently, side to side. Kind of just release any tension that you have created with that little tilt of the tailbone off the ground. Okay. Next, we're going to grab a hold of a strap, a belt, a scarf, and wrap it around the right foot. You can keep that left knee bent. Okay? And then take that right leg and stretch it straight up towards the ceiling. Now, the strap around the arch of your feet is fine, or if you prefer the heels, whichever is more comfortable to you. But you're going to grab a hold of both straps and try to keep those arms straight here, just stretched out, and then let those shoulders drop. Okay, so wherever you end up, maybe your leg's not as high, as close to the body as I have it, okay? Wherever you end up, you're going to bend the knees a little in towards the chest and then straighten the leg, okay? So inhale and exhale. Very controlled movement. We're not jerking into it. We're thinking of warming up. As you straighten the legs, think of pressing that heel up towards the ceiling. Don't worry if the leg's not straight all the way. You're still not quite warmed up yet. You might take a few more of these to do that. Okay, 1 more. And just hold it here for a moment. Deep breaths. So I want you to slow down the inhales and the exhales. Try taking at least 3 counts for the inhale. And then exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And 1 more. Okay. And then release that and lower the right foot down onto the mat. Wrap the strap around the left foot. Okay, again, the arms are straight. Allow the shoulders to relax onto the ground. Soften your face. And we're just going to start by bending the left knee a little in towards the chest. And then exhale to straighten the leg. Okay. Inhale. And just on your own here, just a few of these. Every time you straighten that leg, think of pressing that heel up towards the ceiling. Couple more to go. Okay. Straight arms, straight legs. Okay, engage legs. Now breathe. Take that big inhale. And slow exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Okay. And let's carefully release that left foot down onto the mat. And just for a moment here, you might want to hug the knees into the chest for a little bit of a rollout, or you can let both knees drop side to side. Okay. Now we're going back to the same first leg. Take that right leg and stretch it up high. Okay, and this leg doesn't have to be straight all the way if you can't get it straight. But swap your both straps over to the opposite hand, so your left hand in this case. And you want to keep that right hip grounded, so don't let that right hip lift off the ground. And draw that right foot slightly over to the left side, enough to feel the stretch to the outside of that right leg. You notice that I'm not going all the way, I'm just going slightly enough to feel that stretch. So it's very controlled. Okay. You want to almost root that right hip down. Don't let it lift up. Okay, let's take those deep breaths. It's normal to be shaking here even. Okay. Couple more. One more. Okay, let's inhale back to the center and very carefully lower that right foot down onto the mat. Wrap the strap around that left leg. Straighten that left leg out as best as you can. Swap both straps over to the right hand. Keep that left hip grounded. You can even physically hold down that hip with the left hand. Then draw that left foot slightly over to the right side. Depends on where you're tightest. You might feel it along these IT band muscles or around the hip, sometimes even in the low back. One more deep breath. Draw back to center, lower the left foot down onto the mat. Again, windshield wipers, knees into the chest for a hug, whatever needs to be done. Okay. Next, we're going to come back into that pelvic bone tilt. So next, place your feet about hips width apart, knees pointed straight up towards the ceiling. Pick the pick that tailbone off the ground, squeezing the glutes, almost lifting the hips off the mat. You might see that I have it lifted here. And then lower. Now you can stick to this, not a problem, just working to warm up that hip area. Or you can pick up into bridge pose, only if it doesn't hurt you here. Keep the knees in, keep the thighs in line with one another as you lift up. And you don't have to go up as high as I'm doing right now. And then lower. So we're moving with the breath. Exhale to lift. Try squeezing the glutes. Think of warming up those muscles again. And then lowering. Okay. Upper body is totally relaxed. You're working those legs. Squeeze the glutes and low back. Maybe start to activate a little here as well. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lowers. Good. Let's do one more of those. Okay, let's roll the spine down onto the ground. Bring the soles of the feet together and let those knees open up. You may have to support those legs. You can place a couple of blocks, or you can just use your hands to very carefully hold onto the thighs so that it's not too much pressure. But you want to start to feel a gentle stretch to the inner thighs. You can play around with the feet as well. You might have to walk your feet down the mat or bring it up. Get that good stretch. It should feel nice. It should feel a very good stretch to the inner thighs. It shouldn't hurt. Check in with the low back here. If you find yourself lifting the belly up high, engage your belly so that your low back's protected. You want to have a very natural curve to the spine. And you're not jamming the low back down into the ground, but you're not letting it lift up too high either. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Okay, let's bring those knees back together. Let them come back together and readjust. You might have to, again, take those windshield wipers. Okay. And next we're going to come into our figure 4 stretch. And this is where you could use a block or a pillow to deepen the stretch. So have it close to you. I like to have my bolster for this one. So we do our figure 4 stretch. With the bolster, you're going to place that left foot on the bolster and cross that right ankle over that left knee, just on the thigh, just above that left knee. If this is too much, you get rid of the bolster. You can always just place the foot on the ground instead and come into a figure 4 stretch. Okay, so right here, you're going to engage that right leg by flexing the right foot. Okay. Create that figure 4 shape by pressing that right knee away from the torso. So I like you to feel that leg engaging here. And you feel that stretch. You feel it around the inner thigh as well sometimes. Okay. So just hold it here. Keep pressing that knee away from the body, just using those leg muscles. Okay, stay right here, or if you want more, pick up that left foot off your bolster or your block or your pillow and wrap your hands around the left thigh, so the leg that's further away from you. Thread your right hand in that little window that you've created so that you can safely wrap your hands around the thigh. And this is our figure 4 stretch, a great stretch for the hips. Try not to let the tailbone pick up too much here. You want to keep the tailbone pressed down onto the ground. Allow the upper body to relax. If you find your upper body lifting off here, you might as well just come back to that first pose and work to press that right knee away from the torso. Okay, next little bit, very carefully, I'd like you to draw small circles just to see if you get a better stretch at a different angle of this pose. And if you do, just stay with that. Just hold it there and breathe into that stretch. See if the muscles start to relax. And then release that. Let's switch that around. You can take those windshield wipers, knees into the chest before you do this next one on the other side. So we do exactly the same thing. You've got that left ankle just above that right knee on the thigh. use a bolster or not, a block or not, press that left knee away from the body. Upper body is relaxed. Keep that left foot flexed though, okay? So strong leg. You want to feel some work being done here. Okay, then you can relax only if you need more. Wrap your hands around the right thigh and draw that right knee in closer. And tailbone presses down, upper body is relaxed. Those deep breaths will really help here. And then we're going to do those little circles. The whole low body moves as a unit. And switch directions if you haven't already. Okay, so we are going to now release that and place your feet on the ground. And you're going to roll your pillow or your bolster under the hips. Just be very careful here. You want to be able to feel that stretch to the front of the hips. And you may want to deepen the stretch by inching those toes away from the body. Careful of the back. If you feel any sharp pain, then back off. Okay. So this is just a very simple stretch, a very gentle stretch for those hip flexors. I find it more effective to straighten my legs, but this way I feel a better stretch. But again, just being very mindful, you shouldn't feel any acute pain in that low back. Another way to do this is to just do one leg at a time. That way you have more control over this. Feel free to pause the video and just hang out here as long as you need to. It's a great stretch for the hip flexors, which are these muscles right here. They are always shortened, and because we sit so much in our culture, we sit so much, so they're always shortened, and sometimes they are too tight. We don't spend enough time opening up this area. So let's give that area just a little bit more love. You can switch those legs around if you haven't already, if you're doing one leg at a time. Okay. So walk your feet back in if you have straightened your legs, and then very carefully you're going to pick the hips off of the bolster and bring the bolster off to one side. Knees into the chest, roll it out. Okay. The next little bit here is a spinal twist, and this is so important for our low back. It stretches out those big muscles on our low back. So bolster over to the left side of the mat, lower towards the lower half of the body. And you want to bring the bolster as close to the lower leg, your left leg, as possible. And then drape the right knee over the bolster. So bolster is optional. Some people prefer this without the bolster. But I find the bolster allows you to relax a little bit more. It's not as deep a stretch. Bottom leg, left leg is as straight as you can get it. Don't worry if it's slightly bent. Right knee draped over the bolster. Left arm stretched out shoulder height. And you're going to rotate that right shoulder down towards the ground. If it's hard for you to do this movement, you just ease into it with your right arm on your torso, and then just let that right shoulder very gently open up. If it's okay for you to stretch that right arm out, you do so, and you might have to shift around until you're a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes that right knee wants to pick up. To avoid that, you can even use your left hand to anchor that right knee down. So either gaze straight up towards the ceiling or away from the knees. Good. Carefully unwind the spine, first with the head back to the same side as the knee, then the arms back in, the right arm back in towards the left side, and then onto your back. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Bolster over to the left side, to the right side maybe this time. So the opposite side. And you want to make sure that it's to the lower half of your mat. Drape that left knee on top of the bolster. You can use your right hand to anchor the knee down, and then let that left shoulder drop down towards the ground, perhaps reaching that left arm out, and your gaze is going to be away from the knees. Again, a little bit of adjustment until you feel comfortable, and then deep breaths. Good. Let's carefully unwind that back to the first you gaze back toward to the same side as the knees, and wind the arms, the spine, and then roll onto your back. Okay, good. So at this point, we're going to come into Shavasana, and if you're not joining us for Shavasana, thank you very much. I will see you in the next video. If you're joining us for Shavasana, since you have the bolster handy and close, you can even place the bolster under your knees for a very nice supported Shavasana. So make sure it's even, you're spreading out, taking as much room as you like on your mat, and allowing the facial features to relax, a little bit of adjustment for comfort, and then breathe deep, settle in, relax your facial features and feel those limbs grow heavy. And with calm, relaxed body and calm, relaxed mind, enjoy your Shavasana. very peacefully and calmly, gently make your way back onto your mat. You'll want to wake up the body with some small movements, fingers, toes, wrists and ankles. And take a big stretch by reaching your arms overhead. Stretch from toes to fingertips. Find a little bit more length in that spine. Big inhale and exhale to release. It will feel good to hug the knees into the chest for one more roll out. And so I thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that helped to relieve any low back pressure, low back pain that you're feeling. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.